Hey everybody, here we are again with another episode of Grow the Game. We got a basketball game going on outside, so hopefully it doesn't get too crazy out there. But I had somebody ask or suggest that we talk about running quicks and plays and kind of getting into that. I know this is going to be a little bit more advanced middle school, high school, older aged club kids. But for those people that want to take that next level, I'm happy to give that info. So let's just jump right into it. So when we're talking about quicks, and I think we need to start with understanding the difference between quicks and not quicks, and um, kind of some nomenclature and some words to um, help distinguish these things. So your basic offense, I've heard so many different names for all of these that are up to you. I'll just talk about what I call them. Okay. So a high ball out to the pin to the left side is going to be a 4. High ball out to the right pin is going to be a 5. And just a high up in the middle, a 2. Um, if you do it just a high ball to your back row, which again is kind of another step. Um, you have red, white, and blue. Some people call pipe. Some people call 5 and 9. There's all sorts of. I've known people to use a grid system in that if we're no longer looking down on the court, but we are looking at here's the antenna, working towards the middle of the court. You know, this would be an 11, and go up. That's a 21 and a 31, and you can, or the 11 and a 12, a 13, so all the way up to a 19 being to the pin as high as you can get in, kind of this grid system. There's all sorts of ways to do it, but like I said, I'll just talk to what I do. Okay, high ball, very basic, just get it to your hitters is a 4, 2, and a 5. Okay, this is assuming we're in a 6-2 or a 5-1 with our setter in the back row, so that we have all our hitters. Okay. Um, and this is just your basic hits. People sometimes will have what I call a 32. It's somewhere between a 4 and a 2. Um, and you kind of bring your outside in, or you can have your middle run it. It starts kind of getting into some making sure you're on the same page stuff, or there could be some car crashes. So let's move into quicks. Why do a quick? Right? So that's the first thing. Why even run these quicks? Okay. Well, what you're trying to do is go at a pace that allows you to have the advantage because you're no longer hitting against double or triple blocks, but hopefully in a perfect world, you would have a no block, or what you would see more often is just a single block. And so you have more court to be able to swing at. Um, Tidbit, a blocker's job is not to block the ball, it's to take away a certain amount of court. And I think we get hung up on getting big blocks and stops and touches, and those are the end all be all, when in fact it's not. If you can funnel it right to passers or make them hit balls that are uncomfortable. I think that's a win for blockers. Moving on. So the point of running anything faster than these nice high balls is to try to create an advantage for your hitter. Now, the obvious reason to why people don't do this as often is because it's a high risk, high reward. The quicker you go, the less chance you have of being successful, because you start to increase the odds of messing up. You have to set it the right way, and there isn't time for your hitter to adjust to as much. Their window of where they can hit balls and do things with becomes smaller. So just understand that if you can't do it and be successful, then you need to slow it down and do what you can do and play within yourself. So let's talk about some quicks. So a shoot is what I would say. I usually have hand signals so that we can communicate, especially if it's loud or just, I don't know. So a shoot, you just kind of, shoot. And that's going to be a fast pace out to the pin. Right? So here's my setter. Okay, right in front of them is what I would call one. And this is typically for middles, but there's, as we talk about some plays, we'll get into who else can run those things. But let's just assume we're just sticking straight up. We have middles running a one, outside going a shoot, okay, and then you have a quick to the right pin is going to be what I call a C, or C, pretty common. Right behind the setter is going to be a B. Now, the difference for me in my ones and my Bs, as in B is in back one, is going to be, it's based upon where the setter is, not a place on the net. Okay, so if my setter is running towards the outside and we're wanting to run a one, well, I don't want my middle going right in front of my setter who's going to keep going because she's on the run. I'd rather her call a B, and that way she can go behind her, and we're still kind of achieving the same desire with that. Okay, so just to be specific, ones and Bs are based upon where your setter is, not where on the net the ball goes, whereas shoot and C is. Okay. Then you also have 31. Okay, it's between what I would say is a 2 and a 4. 31, so a little bit different than a 32. Is we're on a second tempo, kind of slower with 32, and 31 a 1. We're picking it up. Okay. Those are your pretty basic. You can go big, pipe, all sorts of stuff in the back row where you just don't set it as high, and that's, I think, getting up there. That's some advanced stuff. But let's talk about some plays and what you're looking for out of them. Okay. We talked about our basic vocab there: ones, shoots, threes, all that sort of thing. Okay. So we have our setter. We have a one getting ran, let's just say, with a shoot at the same time. So maybe you have rules. It's only on free balls are we running quicks, or maybe the setter is the one deciding, hey, yeah, let's go, and that's a way to say, hey, we're going. Let's just say we run a one and a shoot at the same time. Now the pace that you want to run this is such that whether you set one or the other, they are not going to be able to double block one way or the other. Okay, but either you set the shoot and the middle doesn't have time to get there, therefore you have a one-on-one, more court to hit, or whoever typically will help with the middle one doesn't have time, therefore you have your middle hitting against the single block and have, typically both directions to swing. So that's the whole point of running plays. Now, I've seen some people where they run a shoot, a one, and a C, and you literally have 3 people running at a fast-paced tempo. I do not personally do that. I have typically 2 of my 3 hitters running at a fast-paced tempo to give me at least one outlet person. If I'm running a 5-1, I'll have the 2 hitters running at a fast pace and understanding my outlet is my back row, or a dump of some sort. So however you want to do it, what works for you, what can your players in your system do. But I think ideally picking up the pace typically works well for a lot of teams if they can run it. So that's one, is to kind of run a quick in the middle with a quick on the outside, and it puts the middle and the person blocking the outside, or whatever pin it is, in a pickle. Okay. Another option. This is running. Here's your setter. You run a 1, and your outside will actually come in and hit a higher 2 ball. And a lot of people will call this a stack. And what you're looking for is basically for the blockers to jump with the 1, and on the way down, the 2 is then getting hit, so they're honestly not hitting against a block. Or they see it happen a couple times, and they're like, wait, she always sets the 2, and then you set the 1, and they haven't jumped because they're waiting on the 2. You can catch people in a pickle that way. But that would be what they call a stack, and a right side could come do it. Maybe, you have a great outside and a very, let's say, mediocre middle. You could have the outside run the 1 and your middle run a 2. Let's say you want to get your right side involved a little bit, and you don't just necessarily want to run your outside all the time. Okay, maybe you just have a really good right side you want to get involved. You could run a 1 with a B. So basically you have 2 quicks, one on the front side and one on the back side of your setter, and you're going to create gaps. Even if they both block at the same time, there should be gaps somewhere along there. I've coached against a team or two that really loves to run this kind of combo where you have a 1 and B at the same time, and they have pretty good right sides, so it makes sense for them to do that. But that's the way to get those involved. If you want to spread it out, kind of like we did with the shoot, instead of a B, you run a C. Right? And you want to spread them out a little bit more, give them maybe more of a gap. Maybe it's a right side that wants a little bit more time. Wants to be able to have kind of a run at it a little bit better. So you could run your C there. Here's maybe a crossing play. You'll see people an X or X, whatever you want to call this. But this is where you're going to end up literally crossing, right? And so maybe my middle will run a 31, while my outside goes behind her and hits a 2. So what we're looking for with the whole point of crossing is maybe the blockers here, maybe this middle blocker has just got her eyes locked on this middle hitter and just stays with her and goes with the 31. Well, what happens is now this person and the middle blocker is no longer paying any attention to the outside coming to the middle. And so you can get people caught up, not being disciplined with their block and blocking an area. And that's kind of goes down to a philosophy thing. So that's kind of a crossing play. You could do this with your middle running a slide and your right side coming in for a B or a 1 or something to that effect, a 2. So there's a handful of plays that you could implement, some terminology, some things you can add and start to kind of pick up the pace if you have the setting and the hitting to do so. I would suggest, like I said already, you can't do it. I know it looks cool and it's fun to do, but if you're swinging 1 out of 20 balls for kills, I don't know if it's worth it, So making sure you look at that, say, can we handle it? Can we do it? I would step into it if you've never done it with, hey, only on free balls. Every time they give us a free ball, we're running this, and then get that play down and, kind of pick up the pace with how you're implementing it, as well as picking up the pace with the sets. So I hope this helps some of you guys. I hope this covers some things that we were hoping to see with that suggestion, and I appreciate it. So please keep them coming. Please keep sharing. Like I said, come Monday, we have something kind of exciting coming up. We're going to have an online store, and all the profits from that is going to go to hosting a coaches clinic this summer. And hopefully we can provide coaches with more information and help them get better so that they can better these kids and we can grow the game in that fashion. So I would love the support. Even just one shirt helps us. I appreciate it so much. You guys just keep sharing and keep being awesome.